Hey there, I am Naomi Kinsman and I am the Executive Director of Society of Young Inklings, and I am here today to talk to you about character. Now, we all have our favorite characters, and I would love to know what yours are. You can certainly post down below in the comments section. I pulled a couple from my office. I looked around, and of course, Captain Hook and Peter Pan are a few of my favorites. I also love Despero. He's such a wonderful mouse. And I love Pippi Longstocking because she has so much vivacity and energy. So as I was thinking about different kinds of characters, I was thinking about how do we choose these characters that we really want to write about? We have been talking about the Inklings book contest, and that is something that the Inklings does every year. We invite young writers who are in 3rd through 9th grade to submit writing for the contest. They can submit stories or poems. And if you're creating a story or a poem, you may decide that you want to have a character. Certainly for a story, you'll need one, or maybe more than one. And in this story, today we're really going to focus on characters that are at the heart of a story. So if you're writing a poem, that's wonderful. You may decide that you want to build a character-based poem, which is excellent. But if you don't want to, if you want to do something that's more about a feeling or about an experience, you can certainly do that, of course. So let's think for today, though, about character, for those of you who are thinking about story. And we're going to just brainstorm a variety of ways to come up with a character. Now, you may already have a character, which is wonderful if you do. But if you don't have one, this first section of our session today is going to give you a lot of ways to come up with possibilities. And if you already do have a character, stick around because we're going to play some games with those characters. And you may just find that one of the ideas you come up with today as we brainstorm new possibilities is a character you can actually add to your story. That's something that happens to me often when I'm maybe midway through a draft. I'm feeling like the plot is losing energy, and what I really need is a character who is going to bump up the energy, make things new and fresh for me, and I'll bring in someone who's called a cameo character. So they just come in for one scene. Maybe they're funny, maybe they're just different from everybody else in some way, and this character sort of comes in, takes over just one scene, and then they leave the story again. Sometimes that's a great strategy for me to keep myself excited about writing a story. So the first mission I'm going to give you today is I would like for you to look around your space, and I want you to quickly choose 3 random objects and bring them back. I'm going to do it too, so I'll leave the screen for just a moment and get my 3 objects and come on back, but you go ahead and go do this too. If you're watching after the fact and you want to pause, you can do that. Ready? We're going to go look for objects. Ready, set, go. All right, I'm back. Are you back yet? It's okay if you're not. You can keep looking around. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I found, and then you might be just listening as you're continuing to look. The first thing I found was a fountain pen. I really love this brightly colored fountain pen. It makes me think of old days and writers, of course. I also found a keychain with the Eiffel Tower, which I think is kind of a fun object that makes me think of lots of different possibilities. And I also found this little guy who artists use as a model to try to figure out how a person might be standing. Now, each of these objects, if I look at each one, I can brainstorm the possible characters that they make me think of. So starting again with my fountain pen, it could be a scholar from the 16th century who is trying to find some detailed piece of information from an old manuscript, maybe an old man who's a scholar. Or it could be a mouse who is very, very prolific and loves to write. And maybe that mouse lives a long time ago, or maybe he or she lives nowadays. I could keep going, but I'm not going to. You get the point. Here's with my Eiffel Tower, I could use this idea as a setting. So who might be near the Eiffel Tower? Of course, there's the people who might go up in the Eiffel Tower and visit as a tourist. There's the elevator operator, the person who works in the Eiffel Tower, the guards that work around it. Maybe there's a woman who sells freshly baked bread near the Eiffel Tower in the morning. I could even think of a bird who would go near the Eiffel Tower. So lots of different characters could come from this idea. Also, this artist mannequin, we could think about, you know, could I create an artist? Could this guy be a character himself? Who else might be making some kind of artwork? If it wasn't a person, if it wasn't a kind of what we think of an older woman or man who's painting or drawing or sculpting, maybe it's a very young artist. Maybe it is a bear who is an artist. And maybe it is a teapot like Mrs. Potts, who is an artist. You never know. So you can think broadly as you start to think about these different objects. So this is mission number 1. If you're feeling stuck, you're not sure what to do, sometimes it's nice just to get something in your hands and start to think about what possibilities they make you think of. Another option, of course, is to use your body. And we do this a lot at Society of Young Inklings. We think about how our bodies can help us think in different ways. And so what I want you to do right now is I want you to take a deep breath. Good. Now let's take another one. Excellent. Now I want you to think about if you were standing here and you were feeling that fizzy excitement feeling where you feel that energy in the pit of your stomach, you're so excited. You probably are feeling that way today because there's a lot of exciting things happening later on today if you're watching this on Halloween, which is when I'm filming it. So if you are feeling that way, think about how do you stand when you feel excited? What do your shoulders do? What does your face do? What do your hands do? And when you're standing, I'm going to count to 3. We're going to see if we can come up with some pose that really looks like we feel excited. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Now, take a moment with your body in this position and think, who could stand this way? Well, who's a character? How old are they? Are they a male, female? Are they an animal? Are they a creature of some kind? Are they a magical creature? Are they even an object who somehow has hands? All right, and why are they so excited? It's a really good question. Try to figure out what makes them so excited. And then go on from there and try to figure out a couple more details about them. Who are their friends? Where do they live? What are their hobbies? What maybe are they not so good at? Great. Now we're going to try another emotion. So we did excitement. I want you now to think about fear. When you're afraid, what do you do with your body? Your body kind of tenses up, and if you're feeling afraid, you might kind of collapse into yourself and you might have a certain expression on your face. Your hands might be close to your body to protect yourself. We're going to take 3 counts, and we are going to see if we can put our body into a fearful position. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now, think about what your body feels like right now. Who is a character who could feel this way? Is it a animal? Is it a magical person? Is it a human? Is it a building? Right? You can think in any creative direction that you want to. All right, now we're going to try one more because we don't want to end with fearful. We're going to end with proud. So when you're feeling proud about something you've done really well, let's think about how would you stand then? Would you stand with your shoulders back? Would you stand up straight? Would you have energy flowing through your whole body? And what would your face look like? You might have a smile on your face. You feel like you've done a job well. Let's take a pose and see what this character might look like. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Now, this proud character, let's figure out a little bit about them as well. We didn't actually ask questions about our fearful character, so if you want to use these questions to figure that person out, you can do that too. So, who is this character? How old do you think they are? If you don't know, skip the question. What do you think that they wear on a regular day? And do they like to be around a lot of other people, or do they like to be by themselves? Do they live in the city or the country? What kind of house? Do they live close to other people or far away from everyone? Do they have certain talents, things that they're great at? What was it that made them feel so proud? If you're doing that proud character, what made them feel that way? If you're doing the fearful character, what made them feel so afraid? All right, nice. So now you have some characters that you brainstormed at the beginning. You also have some characters that you took on with your body. And so one last game that we often play at Young Inklings is a game called Choices. And this is a game where you choose a character, whichever one that you want to work with, and you're going to make some choices about this character to try to get to know them a little bit better. Now, the choices I'm going to give you are either or choices. So you may decide that I may give you a choice like, does your character prefer to be too hot or too cold? Think about that for a second. Too hot or too cold? Now you might be thinking, my character doesn't want to be too hot or too cold. They would rather just be the right temperature. But if they had to choose, they'd choose too hot or too cold. And then the follow-up question that you want to ask inside your mind is, okay, so they don't want to be too hot and they don't want to be too cold, but I guess they would prefer to be too hot. What's their favorite temperature? What do they really like outside? What kind of weather do they like? What kind of clothes do they wear? Do they always go around in shorts because they never ever feel cold, right? You just follow it up and start to develop if-then kind of situations. If my character likes to be just the right temperature, what does that look like? If she likes to be cold, where does she live? Does she live in a place that makes her cold, or is she always longing to be somewhere different? And you can build your character step by step by step. I'm going to give you a few more choices where you can make your either or choice and follow it up with some questions inside your mind to get to know your character a little bit more. So first, does your character prefer the color purple or the color orange? Now, once you've made that choice, ask yourself, do I know what my character's favorite color is? What do they wear on a regular basis? Great. Now let's move on to, does your character prefer to eat junk food or healthy food? All right. And then once you've chosen, see if you can go deeper. What kinds of food does he or she like to eat? Great. Next, we're going to talk about friends. Does your character love to spend time with tons of people? Say they were having a birthday party, would they invite every single person that they know? Or would they invite just a few close friends? And then think through who they would invite to that party, or who those people are that are close to them. And why do they like to be in big crowds, or why do they like to be in smaller groups? Next up, does your character prefer to be in creative classes or more academic kinds of classes? And if your character's already a grown-up and they're not taking classes or not in school anymore, then think about if they were to sign up for a class, what would they want to learn about? Something creative or something more academic? And once you figure that out, then think about what is that topic that they really love? And maybe it's not creative or academic. Maybe what they really like is something very physical. So think about what would that be that they would want to learn about. Great. We've asked a few questions. We've explored a few characters. We've made some progress on a possible character. Now you have a download link where you can download some worksheets that we put together for you. They're actually printables. This first one is about my character. And in this worksheet or printable, you can go through and answer some questions about your character just to get to know him or her a little bit better. Now, I want to point out to you that this is the sort of thing you might see in school where you feel like you have to go from one question to the next, and you don't want to leave any gaps. But it's always okay as an artist to choose to come back to something or to choose to skip over something altogether if it doesn't work for your character. First up on this list over here is character name, and that can be a little bit challenging to come up with the answer. Who is this character? What is this character's name? So if that is a little bit puzzling for you, then don't worry. You can just skip over it and you can come back to it in the end. And maybe you just give your character some kind of working name until you really know who this person is. So there's this page. There's also a couple other pages. One that has a more human form, like this, and one that has really open space, like this. And both of these are meant to help you draw your character and to think about who they are physically, which may help you to understand a little bit more about who they are inside. So all three of those are there for you to work on developing your character. The questions are designed around a main character. So if you're thinking about a secondary character right now, you may change up some of the questions to make them work better for you. We hope whatever you choose to do with them, you're able to take your character a little bit farther, get to know your character a little bit more. I want to say one more thing about that worksheet. Sometimes you'll see a question that will ask you something that you think, oh, but that's not in my story. I'm not going to share what my character's favorite food is in the story because the story isn't about food, or I'm not really going to share what my character's favorite hobby is because they're not going to have time for their hobby. They're running away from a monster. That's okay. It's still good to know some things about your character that you wouldn't think to ask just because of where your plot is going, because the more you know about your character, the more you know about how they will react. So if, for instance, you know that your character would most like to take a creative class, they're not going to have time to take that creative class during your story, but they have this skill of drawing or painting or sculpting, then you know that you can actually use that as something that they might even use with problem solving, because all of the skills in our lives, no matter what part of our lives they come from, pop up for us when we're coming up with solutions for the problems that we face in our lives. So I hope that you have fun exploring your characters, and I want to remind you that the Inklings Book Contest is just around the corner. We are going to be opening up our window for submissions in January, so you have a little bit of time right now to work on creating your story or creating your poem if that's what you're going to work on, exploring some different possibilities, and then you can submit all the way until March 15th when we'll close down the application window, and then we will be thinking about making decisions on our side about who will be our winners, who will be our finalists, and everyone who submits who are SVPs and lets us know that they're going to submit will get this opportunity to get a letter back from one of our pros. So it's a great opportunity. We would love for you to take some time to do your very best writing and submit something excellent when the contest comes around. And in the meantime, we will keep helping you develop your story in these Facebook Live sessions. I will be back again next Tuesday at 2:30. See you soon. Bye-bye.